Hello viewers, welcome to the other session of Postgraduate Diploma in Environmental and Occupational Health. I am Professor Rupani. Today we are going to discuss about the agricultural industry, that is MEV E003. So, previous session we have discussed about the manures, organic manures and how they are used in the agricultural fields for increase of the crop yield. Today we are going to discuss about some of the important factors about the biofertilizers. So, we have discussed in the previous session, that is what is the difference between the fertilizer as well as the manure, and then how they are used in the agricultural production. So, this is one of the important fertilizer which is environmentally benign in nature. So, what is biofertilizer? So, biofertilizers are the substances that contain microbes, biological compounds that helps in promoting the growth of plants and also trees by increasing the supply of essential nutrients to the plants. So, it contains living organisms like mycorrhizal fungi and blue-green algae and bacteria. So, mycorrhizal fungi preferentially withdraw the materials from the organic matter for the plant, whereas cyanobacteria, they are also characterized by the property of nitrogen fixation. So, here we have used the term nitrogen fixation. What is meant by the nitrogen fixation? We have studied in in high school also. If we will define the nitrogen fixation, it is a process of converting the dinitrogen molecules into nitrogen compounds. For example, some bacteria that convert the insoluble forms of soil phosphorus into soluble forms. So, what will happen? The result of the phosphorus that will be available for plants, that is 80% of the atmosphere, as a result phosphorus will be available for plants. So, 80% of the atmospheric nitrogen gas, that is the N2, but unfortunately this nitrogen is unusable by most of the living organisms. So, plants, animals and microorganisms that can die of nitrogen deficiency. So, if suppose all organisms use the ammonia form of nitrogen to manufacture amino acids and proteins, nucleic acids and other nitrogen containing compounds which are necessary for the life. But the biological nitrogen fixation process that changes the inert nitrogen to useful ammonia. So, this process is mediated in nature only by the bacteria and also some important species of actinomycetes. So, in the free living system, that is, a plants gain benefit when the bacteria die and also release the nitrogen into the environment, or when the bacteria are loosely associated with the roots of the plants, especially in legume crops. So, these are the especially these forms of legume plants, the bacteria that lives in small clusters or club like growths, that is on the roots, normally called as a nodules. Within these nodules, nitrogen fixation occurs. That means nitrogen fixation is a process, and the ammonia which is produced is directly absorbed by the plant. So, nitrogen fixation by legumes is a close or the symbiotic relationship between a rhizobium bacteria and also a legume host plant. So, if we will consider the biological nitrogen fixation, that definitely takes many forms in nature, from the symbiotic form that includes the blue-green algae and also by the lichens, actinomycetes, that is a non-legume crops also, which are associative symbiosis, and also the free living soil bacteria. So, these types of nitrogen fixation that contribute significant quantities of ammonia to the natural ecosystem. And the nitrogen fixation by the legumes, that can be in the range of 25 to 75 pounds of nitrogen per acre per year in a natural ecosystem, and also the several hundred pounds in a cropping system. So, we will see that what is the symbiotic nitrogen fixation. There are two types we have seen, that one is a symbiotic nitrogen fixation and the second one is non-symbiotic nitrogen fixation. If we will consider the symbiotic nitrogen fixation, that normally occurs through the association of the plant roots with nitrogen fixing bacteria. So, the symbiosis are number one between the many leguminous species and also the rhizobium, or otherwise some other, that is the bradyrhizobium, that forming nodules on the roots. And the second is between a small number of non-leguminous genera and also the Frankia. The biofertilizers, which are the substances that contains the microbes, what we have studied so far. What it will do? It helps in the promoting the growth of plants and trees by increasing the supply of essential nutrients to the plants. So, they are so many types we have seen: algae, bacteria, mycorrhizal fungi, blue-green algae. If we will consider the mycorrhizal fungi, preferentially that withdraw the materials from the organic matter, that is also a skill of that particular plant or otherwise particular fungi. What it will do? It will withdraw the material from the organic matter for the plant, whereas cyanobacteria are characterized by the property of nitrogen fixation. So, we have seen that this nitrogen fixation is the process of converting the dinitrogen molecules into nitrogen compounds. For example, some bacteria convert insoluble forms of soil phosphorus into soluble forms. As a result, phosphorus will be available for plants. So, now we will see the difference between the symbiotic nitrogen as well as the non-symbiotic nitrogen. In symbiotic nitrogen fixing, this nitrogen fixing bacteria is the rhizobium. It is one of the vital symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria. So, it will seek the shelter and also obtain the food from the plants. So, once it takes the food, so it has to give in return something. That means it will help by providing fixed nitrogen to the plants. So, it is a natural process. So, the loose association of nitrogen fixing bacteria, for example, like azospirillum, is a nitrogen fixing another bacteria that live around the roots of the higher plants, but do not develop an intimate relationship with the plants. So, if you will see and then surprised to listen also, there is an intimate relationship between the plants and animals. So, it is termed as the rhizosphere association, as this bacteria collect plant exudate and also the same which is used as a food by them. So, this entire process is known as the associative mutualism. So, we will see that symbiotic nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. It is a blue-green algae or cyanobacteria from the symbiotic association with many plants. So, sometimes it is a liverworts or otherwise cycad roots, fern and lichens. These are some of the nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. And Anabaena is also there. It is also found at the leafy cavities of the fern. It is responsible for the nitrogen fixation. The fern plants that decay and release the same for the utilization of the rice plants. And another fern is that is Azolla pinnata. It is also fern that resides in the rice fields, but they do not regulate the growth of the plant. And also free living nitrogen fixing bacteria, or we can call it as non-symbiotic fixation. This is rhizobium we have seen in the symbiotic, and here we will see that azospirillum. It is a biofertilizer. It is particularly important in agricultural systems where fertilizer inputs are normally not used or otherwise impractical, we can say that, or undesirable, or sometimes it is not possible. So, the experiments on inoculation of the crops with azospirillum or other diazotrophs, they resulted in the enhanced plant growth or the nitrogen content under environmental conditions to improve the nutrient assimilation. And also it alters the root size as well as the function. There are number of studies have shown that the higher nitrogen fixation activities in inoculated plants than in uninoculated controls. There are lot of studies have been reported that that the higher nitrogen fixation rates were observed at flowering stage, particularly under the conditions of the high temperature and also the soil moisture. So, in addition to the nitrogen fixation, the inoculation with the azospirillum that results in the lot of advantages like promotion of root hair development as well as the branching, and also if you will see the increased uptake of the nitrogen, potassium and then phosphorus and micronutrients, and also it improves the water status of the plants and also increased dry matter accumulation and also grain yield. So, inoculated plants, if you will see that the under the electron microscope, that means for the research purpose, it shows that the invasion of the cortical layer also. They are a free living soil bacteria that also perform the nitrogen fixation. They are saprophytic anaerobes like Clostridium and also Azobacter. So, among all the type of the biofertilizers, Rhizobium as well as the Azospirillum are the most widely used. So, if we will see the components of the biofertilizers, they are most important are the biocompost. So, it is one of the eco-friendly product that composed of the waste materials which are released from the sugar industries and also it magnified with the human friendly bacteria, human friendly fungi and also various other plants. And if you will see the trichocard, it is an eco-friendly and also non-pathogenic product which is used in a variety of crops as well as the horticulture and ornamental plants like paddy apple and sugar cane, brinjal, corn, cotton, vegetables, citrus, like that there are so many varieties of plants are there. It acts as a productive destroyer and also antagonistic, hyperparasitic against eggs of several boards, shoot or the fruit leaves or the flower eaters and also the other pathogens which are present in the field. If you will closely see that Azobacter, what it will do? It will protect the root from the pathogens which are present in the soil and also plays a crucial role in fixing the atmospheric nitrogen. So, nitrogen is very important nutrient for the plant and about 78% of the total atmosphere that comprises of the nitrogen. If we will look into the phosphorus, what is the importance of the phosphorus, especially the agriculture is concerned, it is one of the essential nutrients for the plant growth and also the development. The phosphate solubilizing microorganisms, what they will do, they will hydrolyze the insoluble phosphorus compounds to the soluble form for the uptake of the plants. That means they will treat that insoluble phosphorus form to soluble phosphorus forms to make them easy to uptake by the plants. So, many fungi as well as bacteria, they are also used for the purpose like Penicillium, Aspergillus, Bacillus, Pseudomonas like this. And also some other fertilizers as well as also there, that is the vermicompost is also eco-friendly in nature, and organic fertilizers that comprises the vitamins, hormones, organic carbon, sulfur, antibiotics that helps to increase the quantity and quality of the yield. And now we will see the importance of the biofertilizers. So, why these biofertilizers are more important? What are the reasons for it? The first one is they improve the soil texture and yield the plant growth, and also they do not allow pathogens to flourish. That means they will kill or destroy. They are eco-friendly in nature and cost effective, and also the biofertilizers protect the environment from pollutants because they are natural fertilizers. They destroy many harmful substances which are present in the soil and then that can cause the plant diseases. And biofertilizers, not only all these advantages, they are proved to be effective even under semi-arid conditions. And what are the applications, we can say that? So, there are so many important applications of the biofertilizers, that is the seedling root dip. So, in this method the biofertilizer is applicable, especially this application is for the rice crops. That means the seedlings are planted in the bed of water for 8 to 10 hours sometimes like this. And also the seed treatments, that means the seeds are dipped in the mixture of nitrogen and phosphorus fertilizers. So in that way also these seeds are then dried and sown as soon as possible. So that means these are the some of the application materials or this application process. And for the soil treatment, how it will be used used in the soil treatment. So the biofertilizers along with the compost fertilizers, they are mixed and kept for entire night. So this mixture is then spread on the soil where the seeds have to be sown. So these are the some of the important advantages as well as the applications of the biofertilizers. And another important is the phosphate solubilizing as well as the mobilizing biofertilizers. So we have seen some of the important factors for the phosphorus. So we know that it is one of the major growth limiting macronutrient, we can say that, which is required for the proper plant growth, particularly in tropical areas because of the less availability in the soil. So normally the phosphorus is ranges between the 0.2 to 0.8% of the dry weight of plants is required, and it is contained within the nucleic acids, enzymes, coenzymes, nucleotides and also the phospholipids. So phosphorus is essentially in every aspect of plant growth is required as well as in the development. From the molecular level to many physiological as well as biochemical plant activities like photosynthesis and the development of root, strengthening of the stalks and also stems, and the formation of the flowers and seeds, and also crop maturity and the quality of crop, energy production, storage house, everyone we experienced and then we know that, and to transfer the reactions and root growth, cell division as well as the enlargement. So the adequate phosphorus availability is also required for the laying down the primordia of plant reproductive parts during the early phases of the plant development. So it is most important as well as the second most, we can say that, macronutrient which is required by the plants next to nitrogen. But the availability of soluble forms of phosphorus for plants in the soil is limited because of its fixation as insoluble phosphates of iron, aluminum and also calcium in the soil. So most of the soil processes the considerable amount of phosphorus, but a large proportion is bound to soil constituents. So soil with low phosphorus that can be supplemented with the phosphorus fertilizers, but they are not able to hold the added phosphorus. So about almost 75 to 90% of the added chemical phosphorus fertilizer, which is precipitated by the metal cation complexes, and also they will be fixed in soils, and they have the long term impacts on the environment, especially in terms of the eutrophication, soil fertility, depletion as well as the carbon footprint. And microorganisms, they are also integral part of the natural phosphorus cycle. The use of phosphate solubilizing microorganisms, that is the PSM, normally we can call it as biofertilizer for agricultural industry, that enhances the crop yield. So that means it intended to provide a brief on availability of the soil phosphor as well as the diversity of the soluble phosphorus content. If we will see the mechanism of the phosphorus solubilization, how PSM that produce plant growth and their possible role as biofertilizer in crop production, if we will consider that these are the group of beneficial microorganisms, they are capable of hydrolyzing the organic and inorganic phosphorus compounds from insoluble compounds. So for example, strains from the bacteria genera, that is the Bacillus, Pseudomonas and Rhizobium, and also if we will consider the fungal genera, that is the Penicillium as well as the Aspergillus, Actidobacillus, and also sometimes it is the arbuscular mycorrhizal. They are the important some of the microbes we can consider. If you will see what is the mechanism under this solubilization. So there are so many approaches are there, because the phosphorus accessible for plants to absorb, that is their main duty. So that means they will lower the soil pH, chelation as well as the mineralization. And also the most important is the lowering the soil pH, and also the PSM that exhibited the capacity to restore the productivity of degraded, slightly productive we can say that, and unproductive agricultural soils. So the primary means by which PSM enhance the plant growth is by improving phosphorus acquisition efficiency of plants, thereby converting of the insoluble form of phosphorus to an accessible forms. That is, normally the accessible form is orthophosphate by plants, and essential quality of PSM is the that is the inoculation of PSM is also one of the best method in soil or seed is known to enhance the solubilization of the applied or otherwise the fixed phosphate in soil. So, with these I would like to conclude in this session that the agricultural production we have seen that increased in the recent past, that increased due to the technology intensive agricultural activity, use of the synthetic fertilizers, perhaps the essential for growth of fertilizer, responsive crop varieties, but environmental concerns are also associated with the excessive use of the synthetic fertilizer, especially to the alternative to the synthetic fertilizers. And if we will consider the biofertilizers, we have studied the role of biofertilizers in augmenting the agricultural production, and also there are so many benefits of the using the same in the agro ecosystems. And also that means the types of biofertilizers and pesticides which are based on the microorganisms which are in association between the host crop as well as the microbial inoculants. And also the application of PSM, we have seen that the inoculating in soil that appears to be very efficient way to convert the insoluble phosphorus compounds to plant available phosphorus form, that results in the better plant growth as well as the crop yield and also the quality. So, apart from that, Bacillus, Pseudomonas, Rhizobium, Aspergillus and Penicillium as well as the some of the other phosphorus solubilizers, they are most efficient for increasing the bioavailability of the phosphorus in the soils. So, besides that, the PSM acts as a biocontrol against the plant pathogens through the production of antibiotics, hydrogen cyanate and also antifungal metabolites. So, the PSMs represent the potential substitute for the inorganic phosphate fertilizers to meet the phosphorus demands of the plants, that improving yields in sustainable agriculture. Their application is an ecologically and economically feasible as well as the sound approach for the plant yield. With these, I would like to conclude this session. In the next session, we will come up with some other interesting factor of the agricultural sector. Thank you.